absolutely dismantled the room. In a single speech, he exposed the shutdown games, the political maneuvering, and the real reason millions of Americans were being used as leverage. You're about to watch a senator rip the mask off a scandal both parties hoped you wouldn't notice.
You either think that we're more important and smarter and more virtuous than the American people, or you don't. And I think we ought to be treated the same. Now, having said that, I said I agreed with what Senator Paul said. I'm just worried his name on the bill is going to get knocked out of the park. So I'm going to put it in my name. Let's do what, it's not Senator Paul's bill, it's Senator Ron Johnson's bill. And what Ron John's, we call him Ron John, I'm sorry, Senator Ron Johnson from the wonderful state of Wisconsin. What Senator Johnson has proposed, and I voted for repeatedly, says, look, if you're deemed an essential employee right now, you're working, but you're not being paid. Senator Johnson's bill says, we're going to pay you. I voted for that. It also says if you're furloughed, if you're deemed to be non-essential, then you're not working, but you will get paid once we come out of this shutdown. Does that make sense? That's what Senator Ron Johnson has proposed. And as I told my good friend Senator Paul, I agree with him. Senator Paul's name is on that bill. It's going to be vetoed 6 ways to Sunday. I'm going to try to put my name on the bill. Maybe it'll get passed, maybe it won't, but I think I have a better chance than Senator Paul. That's just my personal opinion. It's not meant to be personal. So, for that reason, Mr. President, I'll try the third way. It's not my preferred way, but we got to get out of this mess. I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of calendar number 191 S302, which, as I've indicated, Mr. President, I think we've got a chance to pass the House with it, and I really don't think President Trump will veto it if I explain to him it's Senator Ron Johnson's bill. And I further ask that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there an objection?
Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reserving the right to object, let me just say this. We should make sure that every federal worker gets the paycheck that they are owed. And the right way to do that is for Republicans to finally join us and get serious about passing a bipartisan CR so we do reopen the government and prevent health care costs from exploding. Instead, the bill that the senator from Louisiana is asking for unanimous consent for actually lets Donald Trump and Russ Vought decide who they want to pay during a shutdown, and that will allow them to stiff everyone else. President Trump has said he will only pay the people he wants to. He literally said, and I quote, "We're going to take care of our people. There are some people who really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way," unquote. This bill would actually let Trump do exactly that. Mr. President, we should make sure all of our workers get paid, not just the workers Trump likes. So the best way to do that is for, of course, Republicans to sit down with us as Democrats, work out a solution to reopen the government. If instead you do as the senator from Louisiana suggests here, then at a minimum, it should cover all employees. And that proposal is out on the table with Senator Van Hollen and Senator Peters. Thank you, Mr. President. For that reason, I object.
Objection is heard. Chair recognizes the senator from Louisiana.
Mr. President, look, I get it. You know, this is why we're in a shutdown. I just proposed a bill, was my third choice, but it's better than nothing, to say everybody gets paid. And my good friend from Washington State objected. I don't know what else to do. I voted 14 times to open up government. I can't change the election. President Trump was duly elected President of the United States. He was, in a free election. And the American people spoke. And some of my colleagues are upset about that. In fact, they hate the president so much, they've shut down government. They hate him so much that if President Trump came out in favor of breathing to live, they would hold their breath. It's not rational. And I just don't know what else to do. All I can tell my Democratic friends is, look, reasonable people disagree, and I get it. But you're just being too emotional. You need to go drink a big, old, cold, tall glass of get over it and realize that President Trump is the President of the United States. Don't shut government down because of it. Mr. President, you've been really patient. And even though the parliamentarian tried to get you to dodge my questions, you answered them straight up, and I really appreciate it. With that, I yield. No, I suggest the absence of a quorum.
What you just witnessed was the calm destruction of an entire political argument. A senator stood on the floor, not yelling, not raging, but methodically exposing the games being played during a government shutdown. He didn't just defend policy, he pulled back the curtain on a power struggle where federal workers were being used like bargaining chips in a political poker match. The moment he began speaking, the imbalance was obvious. On one side, a senator offering a practical, immediate solution to make sure every essential and non-essential worker gets paid. On the other, leadership insisting that the only way to help workers is to bow to their version of a bipartisan deal. And in the middle of that clash stood millions of Americans who simply wanted a paycheck they'd already earned. Then came the heart of the scandal. The idea that the president should choose who gets paid during a shutdown. The idea that one administration should have the power to reward friends and punish critics with federal dollars. It wasn't a theory. It wasn't speculation. The senator read the quote out loud. We're going to take care of our people. Some people don't deserve to be taken care of. That line wasn't politics. It was a threat wrapped in policy, and every person watching felt the weight of it. But this hearing wasn't about volume. It was about exposure. The senator from Louisiana calmly explained that he had already voted 14 times to reopen the government. He wasn't the one who wanted the shutdown. He wasn't the one blocking compromise. What he showed, with almost painful clarity, was that the shutdown wasn't about budgets. It wasn't about negotiations. It was about hatred so strong, so consuming, that one side would rather keep the government closed than grant even an inch to a president they despise. And then came the line that froze the chamber. The moment he said, if the president came out in favor of breathing to live, they'd hold their breath. That wasn't comedy. That was indictment. It captured perfectly the emotional spiral that now passes for policy. It exposed a system where logic is irrelevant, solutions are ignored, and the only currency left is resentment. But here's the deeper issue. This wasn't just a debate about a shutdown. It was a revelation about how institutions protect themselves at the expense of the people they claim to serve. Federal workers became pawns. Essential employees were asked to work without pay. Non-essential workers were told to wait silently in uncertainty. And while the politicians fought, Americans suffered. That's the real imbalance. That's the real scandal. A power structure so consumed by its own battles that the Constitution becomes background noise. So ask yourself, how many families missed rent while leaders performed political theater? How many workers were told to be patient while elected officials argued over whose name was on a bill? And how many shutdowns will it take before people finally see that dysfunction isn't an accident, it's the strategy? What you saw today wasn't just a speech, it was a warning, a reminder that democracy cracks slowly, then suddenly, when accountability disappears and emotion replaces reason. If we don't call it out, if we don't stay loud, nothing changes. The shutdowns continue, the divisions deepen, the same people keep paying the price. Share this video so others can see what really happened on that Senate floor. Subscribe if you believe the truth still matters, and stay loud because no one, no senator, no party, no president is above the Constitution. The cameras are rolling, and so are we.